Alec, I'm starting.
Japanese.
And are we? Just let me know. I can't see you. Am I? Okay, and here we are back again. Welcome back. Let me now talk a little bit about what is called personal crisis. Personal crisis, I mean, that can happen to anyone at any time. Usually there's a lot of emotion involved, mental anguish, usually involving money, relationship. I remember a personal crisis in my life just happened last night. It happened 2 nights ago. I got one of the worst colds in my life. I don't know about you, but the older I get, the harder it is to get rid of these godforsaken colds. What good are they? I mean, I'm trying to think. I know there's got to be good in things that happen. I mean, there is no power besides him, and he does nothing but good. But what good is there in a cold? I was in bed all day, and at nighttime, I couldn't get to sleep. I had to get out of the bed.
Crisis?
This is a personal crisis. How the hell was I going to get here? How the hell was I going to get out of the bed, the sick bed, and make it here for this broadcast? And you know, I kept thinking, when I worked full-time as a public defender, I never called in sick. I'd go there and I wouldn't die, but I would push myself to be there. And I overcome this personal crisis by being here tonight. How the hell I made it, how I pushed myself, I took the right medication, I don't know. But I've overcome the personal crisis. You know,
it's a crisis in health, correct?
That's a crisis in health. You know, once you get past 30, I'm sorry, let's make that 35. Your physical well-being starts to deteriorate. We all face aging one time or another. For some of us, it becomes harder than the other. And our hearing goes, our eyesight goes. You have problems with indigestion. You have what I have, and that is GERD, acid reflux. And you have to deal with that. And that is the personal crisis. Now, when I was a young man, there was a personal crisis usually involving women and how my heart would break and I would go all out. I would bare my soul just so that I could have that one lovely woman's affection. And when I thought I couldn't gain that affection, I would just fall down and say, my God, what is life all about? Is there any reason to continue? I continued my life and I overcame that personal crisis. But the personal crisis can be of an emotional one at age 17 or a physical one at age, whatever age you get when you start to have more physical problems. Personal crisis and...
Angela says, we are not here for a long time. This cold is just a reminder for action. If we were all healthy, we would never get up from the couch.
Angela, I agree. But maybe sometimes a cold doesn't force us to action, but it forces us not to act. It forces us to get into bed. It forces us to slow down. Maybe that is what's needed. Maybe when our immune system starts to falter, when it starts to not do what we hoped it always would do, maybe it's a way of telling us, hey, that's it, take it easy. You're pushing yourself too much. Talk about personal crisis. I once performed, that's not a good term. I once did 10 jury trials in 9 weeks. Let me tell you that again. 10 jury trials in 9 weeks. Now, there's some lawyers who don't do 10 jury trials in their entire life. I was a public defender, And I was in front of a judge where you just couldn't try a case unless you went and sought help from a jury. And so, stupid me, I thought I could not ask for a continuance, and I would do one after another. Back to back to back jury trials. I get hemorrhoids. I get hemorrhoids that have lasted me ever since I was that young man who thought that I could do anything in the world. There's a little bit of macho-ness involved there. But that was a personal crisis. I thought I had to do that. And along comes hemorrhoids telling me, Michael, you have to sit down. No, don't sit there. No, don't sit at all. You have to stop doing what you're doing and pay attention to your health. Otherwise, you ain't going to be around long enough to enjoy any more health.
Michael, Vassar Mutar says, isn't a crisis on the physical level the result of another one, the one of a more subtle nature? And are they connected?
I don't know the answer to that. I heard recently through some bear research that I did that there is memory in muscles, and if there's pain in your muscle from some previous action or activity, or maybe even stress, the muscle retains that. It remembers it. And maybe week after week of doing the same routine, physical routine, over and over and over. And maybe it has to do with typing at a desk. Maybe it has to do with moving your hand as the old cash register. You people are much too young to remember that one time there was a cash register where you would key in. You didn't use the scanner, and then you have to pull the register. Eventually, parts of your body would get sore, and it is a reminder to the rest of your system to take notice of where the pain's coming from and to do something about it.
Well, Michael, people of a young age experience crisis too, right? Even teens. Vassar Mudar says, I heard of an 11-year-old who told him, "Don't you see, I'm going through crisis now."
You wonder, the crisis, again, getting back to the definition of crisis, it has to do with an individual facing something that is unstable and a dangerous situation. Crisis may just very well be in the mind of the beholder. Crisis may very well be in how we look at a series of events or one giant event. We can all agree that a tsunami coming onto a land, killing people, is going to be a crisis to not only the people who are living there, but to all of the rest of the world family. Now, a crisis, a personal crisis for an 11-year-old, I would think has to do more with the opportunity that 11-year-old has to deal with whatever issues that are existing at that time to create that crisis. And I hope the 11-year-old can get help for it. I can't remember of any crisis when I was 11. I remember a crisis with girls. I remember meeting a girl when I was 12 and praying that she would like me. And that was a mini crisis. But
aren't some of the people who are experiencing the Japanese crisis, for example, they're young people there. So you're saying you don't remember of any crisis when you were 11, but some people have different experiences.
Yes. I think 11-year-old whose family is involved in any of the villages, any of the places where this catastrophe has hit, they're facing crises. I think whenever something changes, violently changes the world that we know of, there is a crisis. And that could be something non-physical. It can be a divorce. It can be getting married and going into a lifestyle Now, here in Philadelphia, we have a group of women who have designed a game that has to do with a spiritual avenue, a spiritual path, and we deal with certain things called suffering. Everyone has to suffer. There are certain things that you can't avoid. They said that getting married is a form of suffering. Not so much that you're going to be crying and wailing and pulling out your hair, but you have so many adjustments to make. You have so many changes that you go through, so that it is a form of suffering. Getting a new job is a form of suffering. You have to go through all these changes. Your stability is rocked. Well, Karen, you yourself, you just got a new job, and you're finding out that you have so many new things that you have to do that you didn't need to do last week. And maybe you don't want to call it suffering, but it's engaging in new stimuli, new phenomena that, boy, you wish you didn't have to do, but you have to because it's part of your new makeup. Do you like your new job, Karen? I think you do. I like my new job. My new job is to try to communicate with all of my fellow men as honestly as possible. Now, saying that, I have to also let you know that at one time I was given an award, and it has to be based on the Greek. I was given the award of a scatologist. Scatologist is one who, how should I put this? It has the ability to bullshit. Now, I don't want to say it in those terms, but how do we avoid crisis? Maybe climb above it. Maybe realize that you can be bigger than the crisis. Maybe you can find some laughter, some, not joy, but some life that is not in the horror, some life that is lighter. We used to have something called gallows humor when we worked in the public defender's office. We used to deal with some of the worst rapists in the world, and it was never a pleasure to visit someone with that charge. We joked about it, and the only way that we can get through visiting some of these people was to distance ourselves from it. And I think anyone in any type of hardcore type of profession might have their own type of gallows humor. Doctors may not want to admit it, but I think when they're around themselves, their other doctors, they can joke about some of the crazy patients that they've had. Nurses, the same way. Teachers, I'm sure teachers, while they may not want to share it with the public, they have their stories to tell, and they have their jokes to tell.
Michael.
Yeah.
Roxa is asking, isn't crisis good for us then? It makes us move forward in life. It makes a person develop and advance.
Exactly. Let's take that a little further. It makes us. It forces us. It compels us. Coercion, hitting us upside the head, it is the stick. It is nature's way of pushing us. Nature could be a very gentle guide. Nature could be like the soft breeze blowing through the leaves of the trees, bringing the scent of flowers upon us. Nature can also be the thunder, the lightning, the very bad torrential downpour that people in places like Vietnam and Siam and other peoples who go through the rainy season live in and are part of 1 year after another. I don't know. Yes, I agree with you that we must look at a crisis and a catastrophe as an opportunity to change.
But how do we change? As Vassar Mutar is asking, now it looks like somebody is hitting us with a stick, but we don't know where to run.
First of all, go within. Find out what strength you have inside of you. It may be that at this time you find there's very little strength, and what you find is more of a weakness. What you find is something that you don't want to admit to. You find something that you don't like, that you actually despise. You find out that you are, I hate to use the word evil, I hate to use the word bad, I hate to use the word, let's use ego. We find out that we are nothing but a ball, a giant ball, a desire of ego, that we want more and more to fulfill that ego. And once we say to ourselves, I can't change this by myself, I can't do this. And when we start to beg and say, help me, I don't care what persuasion you have, you look within and you become as sincere as you possibly can be, and you ask for help, you'll get it. You'll get it. And you'll find out where that change is needed. You'll find out how to approach someone to help you with that change. You'll find out that there are people who are just like you, who will admit to those weaknesses. You know, some people enter Alcoholics Anonymous and they learn about the 12 steps. Some people go into Narcotics Anonymous and they learn about the steps to recovery. That's what we need. We need a recovery. We need a gigantic global recovery. We need to admit that it is broken. It is broke. We have to fix it. We have to take the shattered pieces and somehow remember that it was one. And it still can be.
Roxa asks, is the ego really bad? Wasn't it the reason that, or wasn't it the way that prehistoric man got out of his cave and became a human?
The ego
follows, who is this ego?
Good questions. Both of them are excellent questions. I wish I knew the answers. I'm not a psychologist. I just read about the ego. I can only tell you what my experience of the ego is. The ego is necessary. I mean, we need to believe that we can accomplish something, and part of that is through our ego. We have to believe that we can enjoy each other's company, that we have something to give to a friend, that we have something to give to a group. And we do. We all have different talents. It's when we just use the ego, when we use the talents for our selfishness. Yes, we need the ego to get a job, to put our best foot forward, to write that excellent resume, to continue to make the money for the family. But it comes to a point in our lives when we find out that there is more than what the ego has been striving for. And it's at that point that we learn to kind of put a lid, kind of put a restriction on the ego, so to speak, and to take whatever goodness that the pleasure you get from the work that you put into getting the pleasure for the ego, and maybe give elsewhere.
Pastor Mutter says, what ego are you talking about? I'm a good person. I go to church, I help other people. He even sent money to Japan. That's
good. And I think that's admirable. And I think you should continue to do that. What is good? What is bad?
Is sending money to Japan considered giving? Follows blank row.
Yes, it is. I mean, giving, the question comes up is, are we giving to make ourselves feel better, or are we giving to make humanity better? If we are giving to help humanity with no strings attached, with no pat on our own backs, then it's good.
What can we give?
If you can't give financial support, you can give yourself. I don't know if there's some volunteer actions that can be done. Perhaps working, contacting people in our own community that might have ties. For instance, there's a group that I'm connected with, have some contact with people in Japan, and we're learning from them almost first-person accounts of what's going on. And each of us has the ability to contact them and at least say, we understand, our concern, our love and compassion goes out to you.
But we already have so many charities, and it's not working. We still have these crises. That's the topic of your conversation.
The crisis will be there. The crisis, the catastrophe will be there. What we have to learn is that it's not the amount of money we give, it's not the groups that we join, it's not the seeking to be among that small group of altruists to give. It's becoming one with the force that is always giving. To make your reality one of giving, always giving, rather than receiving. It's tough. I'm not there yet. I have to give more of myself on a daily basis. We're going to be taking a break soon, and you've hit a core in me, and I don't have the answer. I wish I did. I'm going to give some more thought to that. Thank you.